So we asked you earlier in the show, after a very impressive win over the Texans with their third-string quarterback, will the Patriots go 19-0 this season? And the results are in. 72% say no, 28% say yes. Max, did they get it right?
I mean, after 3 weeks,
yeah,
28% of the population believes they'll go undefeated. And a lot of that's coming from New England, obviously. No, they didn't get it right. Of course you're going to lose. Even in the Patriots' greatest season, which, by the way, was on the verge of being called the greatest season in the history of American team sports until the Giants knocked them off. Certainly greatest football team of all time, better than the 85 Bears. Even then, they lost the final game of the season. Highly unlikely that they go undefeated, even though they have some very nice wins without Brady.
Well, they're not going to go undefeated because at some point they're going to run into the Steelers. That's number one. Number two, let's be clear. Let's be clear. Folks are not far-fetched, though, because when you think about it, if you anticipate that this team is going to be even greater once Brady gets back, then just think about it. Just think about what you've got. I mean, Denver, you got a rookie quarterback, essentially, because he never threw a pass until this season. Cincinnati, you can always rely on them to lose in the postseason. Baltimore's not quite there. Nobody's in the AFC South measures up. Nobody in the AFC East measures up. And then you're talking about a Super Bowl. You don't have to play everybody. You only have to play the team coming out of the NFC conference. So when you look at it, it's really not that far-fetched. It's just that the game itself pretty much mandates that at some point in time, somebody's going to fall in today's day and age.
They're going to wind up losing to a team they should beat. I mean, it happens every year to every team.
Yeah.
I'm with the 28%. But, Stephen A., you mentioned Denver. So far, so good for Trevor Siemian this season. The Broncos quarterback is 2-0 after home wins over the defending champion Panthers and Colts. Now he has his first road test this Sunday as an underdog in Cincinnati. Stephen A., how much trust do you have in Siemian against the Bengals?
Well, I think it's going to be a rough afternoon because I think when you look at Trevor Siemian, you're going up against a Bengals team that I think is very formidable. I think the Bengals are actually going to win this game because there's been some friction. Obviously, Demaryius Thomas and those boys think they need to get the ball more. Denver's defense will rise to the occasion. They could do some things, but Andy Dalton being behind center, it's the regular season, not the postseason. So I only knock Andy Dalton. I'll wait until January to do that. But from September to December, I think he'll be fine. A.J. Green will be there. They're making some adjustments offensively. But in the end, I think that the Bengals defense is good enough to cause Denver's offense as much havoc as Denver's defense can cause Cincinnati's offense. Being that the game is in Cincinnati and the fact that Trevor Siemian is going to be exposed to hostile confines, I think it's going to be a nail-biter. But I could see the Bengals winning this game 23-20.
Bengals are a good team, period. But if the question is, which it is, how much do you trust Siemian? I don't trust him that much yet. But and based on what I've seen, he's okay. But I trust Kubiak, and I trust Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders and C.J. Anderson. And I trust certainly the defense and Talib and Von Miller and these guys because they have guys on defense. It's not just good defense, good defense. They have playmakers at a different level. And in addition to that, when you need it the most is when they come through. You know, they're actually clutch defensive players. Not only are they at the height of the game, but in high-leverage moments, that's when they give you their best. I think that's what makes the Broncos special. So I trust those guys much more than Siemian, but that's all you really need.
15 of last season, everyone has been waiting for the rematch of Odell Beckham Jr. against Josh Norman. And now that Norman's a Redskin, we see them face off twice this season. This season, starting Sunday in the Meadowlands. Beckham had 76 yards and a TD last season facing Norman in the Panthers, but also had 2 big drops. We welcome the coach, Herm Edwards. Coach, you know a little something about this position. Holding Eagles record, 38 picks, still to this day. Let's talk about this matchup. What can we expect this weekend?
Well, the matchup really is between Bob McAdoo and Joe Barry, the defensive coordinator. And if you're Coach McAdoo, what do you want to do to win the game? Let's make that perfectly clear. He's not walking into the stadium like this is a prize fight and say, you know what, I'm going to line him up over there. He's trying to win. He's going to strategize and say, I got 3 really good receivers. Where do I want to deploy these guys so I can make plays on a defense that's giving up 32 points a game, 73% completion, 58% on third down, by the way. And he's trying to figure out what's the best way for me to move my offense so I can score points and play big, right? Ben McAdoo. And so I think when you think about Norman, obviously, and Beckham, there'll be some times they'll be matched up, and we'll see what happens. But I think if you're a fan and you're going to the game thinking this is going to be a one-on-one contest, you're going to the wrong game, because it's not going to be that type of game. It's going to be a game that both teams are trying to win, especially the Giants, to go 3-0. Washington needs to win this game. It's a big division game. And I will say at times that they will be matched up. How much, we don't know. We'll see how the game plan unfolds. Yes, sir.
Me personally, here's my belief. I believe we're going to see some fireworks.
Okay.
And here's why I believe that. Beckham may get a touchdown. He may duplicate his performance from last year where he had 6 receptions for 76 yards. I don't think there's going to be penalties per se in the early parts of the game or whatever. But I think that if things unravel for the Redskins, there's so many pointing of the fingers. There's so much bickering. And there seems to be such a lack of control when it comes to Jay Gruden and his team that I think that you could see something show itself in this game if the Giants end up giving it to them. It's going to be very, very interesting to see how the Redskins respond to this challenge. You not only lost your first 2 games of the season, you're not only 0-2, but you're 0-2 at home. If you go on the road away from FedEx Field, and if you stink up the joint, it's going to be a problem, especially if Beckham is getting the best of anybody. Because make no mistake about it, Beckham may have said something to one magazine while Josh Norman said something to the other, but Josh Norman has been the one primarily doing most of the talking in the offseason as opposed to Beckham. If Beckham goes out there, Max, and he gets loose, I think he's going to showboat. And I think he's going to exacerbate the situation, and it's going to rattle the Redskins. And you're going to see something ugly happen. I don't know what. And I certainly don't hope that no one gets hurt. But I am looking at that. I really am.
No one covers Beckham one-on-one. I mean, come on, it's ridiculous. None of the top receivers, especially not him. I think he's the best of all. I know Coach and Stephen A., you disagree. I think swap him, put him on Pittsburgh. Oh, my God. You think Antonio Brown's putting up numbers. But this is what occurs to me. As a Giants fan, please make it a one-on-one matchup with Beckham and Norman. Don't forget, he had 2 drops in the game against Norman last year, where it wasn't always man-to-man. And I'll credit Norman for getting into his head, and maybe that's the reason he dropped. But if not for those 2 drops, it would have been 137 yards and 2 TDs. I mean, he torched him one-on-one. You can't stay with Beckham one-on-one if you're Norman. But let's say you think that Beckham's a better cover guy than Breland, and he's just a better defensive player. If that's the case, why would you put him on Beckham? Coach, it's my understanding that you want to put that guy on the second best receiver, then you bracket the best receiver, you send a safety over to help. If you're going to cover him with Norman, you're still going to have to send a safety over to help. And now Shepard, who went for 111 yards last week and is an excellent route runner with good hands and will make plays on the ball, is going to torch one-on-one coverage from your second-best cover guy. I mean, please, Washington, please play Norman on Beckham and send a safety over, please.
Listen, Max, you're convoluting the issue because no one is saying that Odell Beckham Jr. should be guarded one-on-one. What they're saying is that wherever he is, Norman should be around.
Well, what I'm saying, Steven...
Norman should, hold on. No, Norman should not... I'm not paying you $50 million in guaranteed, $75 million, making you essentially one of the elite faces of this organization for you to be in the shadows while one of the great ones is on the opposite side of the field.
You're letting business affect your on-field decisions. So I said, if you don't want to cover him one-on-one with Norman, but you want Norman shadowing him, and you're going to send a safety, now you got your second-best guy on Shepard, and you're done. That's my point.
Well, what I'm saying to you is this. It's not about just business. The point is you're making the business decisions because of what it can produce for you on the field. It's not separate entities. It's not it's not like you're stuck with the guy. You went out and got him. And because you went out and got him, this was supposed to be the reason. You give him help, but it's supposed to be the reason.
You get him because he's a good defensive player and he can help your team, and I think he's been playing well, Coach, so far.
Well, all I know is this part of it, as on the coaching side of it, and it can be argued any way you want. But it starts on the offseason when you decide to get a guy like this. The question you ask yourself, are you willing to change your system? Or how does the guy fit in your system? With that being said, first 2 weeks, he stayed on one side. Now, that doesn't mean that you stay on one side and when you travel, you have to play man-to-man all the time. Because here's the problem, what people don't realize. If you put him man-to-man, that's great. But how many other guys do you expose now? There lies the problem. You know, so all of a sudden you want to, and I say it as a person that coached the game and played the game, and all of a sudden now you weaken your defense if you have 3 other guys that can't play man-to-man.
Coach,
so,
Coach, I have a question for you.
And everyone travels.
I'm sorry. I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
I am not willing. I don't even want to hear from Max. I get where Max. I'm tired of hearing from him with this nonsense about Odell. Please, guard on one-on-one. Nobody's talking about one-on-one. Stop changing the damn narrative. Here's the question.
Yes, sir.
Here's the question, Coach. If you are the coach of the Redskins in the offseason,
Yes.
and you converse with the owner, and you decide that we're going to go out and get Josh Norman, who is considered to be a top 5 corner in the game,
Yes.
do you get Josh Gordon and leave him on one side of the field away from an Antonio Brown and an Odell Beckham Jr.?
No, because if you go get him, you basically are going to switch your system. Now, it doesn't
That's
mean.
all I'm saying.
It doesn't, yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
It doesn't mean, you're going to change it in this sense. You're going to let him travel, but it doesn't mean you're playing man-to-man every play. You're going to play some zone as well, but you're going to let him move around, pick your spots, and as you said earlier, and this is what I always would do with a great corner, I would actually put him on the number 2 guy. I'd put him on the number 2 guy. I knew he wasn't going to catch the ball. I wasn't going to make it a one-on-one contest against a great receiver and a great corner because it's 50-50
This is what I'm saying.
So I'm going to double the number 1 guy. I'm going to take the number 2 guy out of the mix. This is what Coach Belichick does.
Coach, what does it mean?
He did that with Revis.
So, Coach, what does it mean? This is my whole point. So if you're going to send him over to the number 1 guy and double him, then that leaves a weaker defender on the number 2 guy, and you're exposed.
But here's the problem, and Skip brings it up. Excuse me, Stephen A. brings it up. When you go get him, well, you better do that with your system. Well, the first 2 weeks, you didn't do that. You left him over there on the right side. And everybody's wondering, why is Breland calling Antonio Brown?
And coach, this is where Max is disingenuous with my argument. He's acting like I'm saying this about Odell Beckham Jr. I've been saying this from opening tap. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm there on the sideline for Monday Night Football against the Steelers. And I'm like, wait a minute, why did you go and get this guy? You want to have him. You want to move your parts around. You went to get this dude to be that dude, not to sit up there and sit in the shadows.
Coach is agreeing with me.
You both make good points. You both make good points.
Coach is saying you take your best defender, you put him on the number 2 guy.
But what Stephen A. saying is this. They didn't even do that. They started the season off with him playing on one side, and everybody's going, why is he over there?
Okay. But
that doesn't mean...
No. Stephen A. is saying you want him on Odell. You want him on Antonio Brown.
And at times you can do that. You can do that.
At times I got no problem.
You can do that.
Right, sure.
Because you're trying to disguise your plan. Go ahead, Stephen.
You don't hide the guy that you go out and give franchise caliber money to like that. You put him in the eye of the storm. Now, how you utilize him, like Coach said, you can move him around or what have you, but at the end of the day, he's that dude.
Oh, okay.
You don't
So it's
sit up there and
changing
just
a little
lay him
now.
on one side of the field.
Okay, I didn't realize that you were going to change the argument halfway through. I get it now.
I didn't change anything. I didn't change it. I've been saying this for weeks.
All right.
You just won't listen because you want to make your points.
Thank you, Coach, for helping refine Stephen A's point.
With Molly sitting there.
What?
Please.
I mean, come on. Good. I'm just sitting
I've been
here.
saying the same thing.
I'm going to tell all those fans that go to the game this week, don't get your popcorn and think you're going to see a one-on-one contest, because it's not going to be that.
I'm not asking for a one-on-one.
Well, if they try to make it that, it's no contest at all.
I'm taking all the fans as, one-on-one. That might be before the game. They should just do one-on-one before the game. Because during the game, both these teams are trying to win. They're going to do whatever they got to do to win.
The scapegoat's going to take it to break down.